Jake Morrison rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the clock on his computer screen. It was 3 in the morning, ship time. Around him, the monitoring station hummed quietly as it drifted through space near Neptune. Most of the crew was asleep, but Jake worked the night shift. He listened to the sounds of deep space, searching for anything unusual. The station was humanity's farthest outpost. It sat in the cold darkness beyond Neptune, watching and listening. Jake had worked here for 2 years. Most days he heard nothing but the natural sounds of space, radio waves from distant stars, the hiss of cosmic radiation. The occasional signal from Earth? So far away it took hours to reach him. Tonight felt different. Jake sipped his coffee and checked the instruments again. The quantum detection arrays were working perfectly. These machines could hear signals that older equipment would miss. They used the latest technology, designed to catch any alien messages that might cross through human space. So far, they had found nothing. Most scientists back on Earth thought they never would. Space was too big. This had too empty. If aliens existed, humans would probably never meet them. Jake disagreed. He believed someone was out there. That was why he took this job. Someone had to listen. Someone had to watch. He leaned back in his chair and looked out the window. Neptune hung in space like a blue gem. Beyond it lay the Kuiper Belt, and beyond that the vast emptiness between stars. If aliens were going to send a message, it would come from out there. The first sign came at 3:17 a.m. Ben Parker, the communications specialist, was running a routine check on the equipment. He called out from his station across the room. "Hey, Jake. I'm getting something weird on Array 7. Jake turned around. Ben was young, maybe 25, with the kind of excitement that came from working with cutting-edge technology. He loved finding new signals, even if they usually turned out to be nothing special. "What kind of weird?" Jake asked. "It's not random. There's a pattern to it." Ben adjusted his controls. "Want to take a look?" Jake walked over to Ben's station. The screen showed a series of waves rising and falling in a complex rhythm. At first glance, it looked like background noise. But as Jake studied it more carefully, he began to see what Ben meant. "This isn't natural," Jake said slowly. "That's what I thought. It's too organized. Too clean." Jake felt his heart start to beat faster. "Where is it coming from?" Ben checked his readings. "Way out, beyond the Kuiper Belt. The signal is weak, but it's definitely artificial. How long have you been tracking it?" "About 10 minutes. It just appeared. One moment there was nothing, then this started broadcasting." Jake stared at the screen. In 2 years of listening, they had never found anything like this, nothing even close. "We need to wake Commander Rodriguez," he said. Amy Rodriguez had been in charge of the monitoring station for 5 years. She was tough, smart, and careful. She didn't get excited easily. When Ben called her to the communications room, she arrived. In her uniform, fully alert despite being woken up in the middle of the night. "Show me," she said simply. Ben played back the signal. Amy watched the patterns flow across the screen, her face showing no emotion. She asked technical questions. She checked the equipment calibration. She made sure everything was working correctly. "This could be a malfunction," she said finally. "I thought of that," Ben replied. "I ran full diagnostics. Everything checks out. Could be interference from one of our own satellites." Jake shook his head. "I already checked. No human equipment is broadcasting in this frequency range, and the signal is coming from outside the solar system." Amy was quiet for a long moment. She stared at the screen, thinking. "If this is real," she said, "if this is actually an alien signal, then we need to be very careful how we handle it. This could change everything. What do you want us to do?" Jake asked. "First, we document everything, every detail. I want a complete record of when this started, what equipment detected it, and exactly what we're seeing." "Already on it," Ben said, typing rapidly. "Second, we try to decode it." "Jake, this is your area? Can you make sense of this pattern?" Jake studied the signal again. "I can try. It's definitely encrypted, but there might be mathematical patterns I can work with. Give me some time." "How much time?" "I don't know. Could be hours, could be days." Nodded. Do it, Ben. Keep monitoring. I want to know if anything changes. If this signal stops, or if we start receiving other signals, I want to know immediately. What about Earth? Ben asked. Should we report this? Amy considered this. Not yet, not until we know more. If we're wrong, if this turns out to be some kind of error, we'll look like fools, but if we're right... She paused. If we're right, then this is the most important discovery in human history. Jake went to work. He used every tool at his disposal. Pattern analysis software, cryptographic programs, mathematical modeling systems. He tried to find the key that would unlock the alien message. Hours passed. Jake barely noticed. He was completely focused on the puzzle in front of him. The signal. It was complex but not random. There was intelligence behind it. Purpose. The breakthrough came at dawn. Ship time. Jake was running the signal through a new analysis program when something clicked. The pattern wasn't just organized, it was mathematical. The aliens were using prime numbers as a foundation, building more complex patterns on top. I've got something, he called out. Amy and Ben rushed over to his station. Look at this, Jake said, pointing to his screen. They're using mathematics as a universal language. Prime numbers, geometric sequences, even pi. Once I recognized that, I could start to decode the structure. What does it say? Amy asked. Jake's hands moved quickly over his keyboard. Numbers and symbols flowed across the screen. Slowly, meanings began to emerge. It's a communication protocol, Jake said, his voice filled with wonder. They're introducing themselves, telling us how to talk to them. Who are they? Ben asked. Jake worked for another hour, piecing together fragments of meaning. When he finally looked up, his face was pale. They call themselves the hegemony. They're not just one species, they're many species working together, and ... He paused, checking his work again. And they've been watching us. Watching us how long? Amy demanded. Jake's voice was barely a whisper. Since we developed nuclear weapons, they've been observing Earth for over 200 years. The room fell silent. Outside the window, Neptune continued its slow orbit, unaware that humanity had just learned they were not alone. And more importantly, that they were being judged. There's more, Jake said. They're not just watching. They're planning something. There are coordinates here. Coordinates for Earth, and there's a countdown. A countdown to what? Amy asked. Jake checked his translation again, hoping he was wrong. He wasn't. 18 months, he said. We have 18 months. The secret meeting happened 300 feet underground in a room that officially did not exist. Director Kate Sullivan sat at the head of a long table, studying the faces of the people she had called together. Each person in this room represented years of experience in different fields. Each had been carefully chosen. Each had signed documents that would put them in prison for life if they ever spoke about what they were about to learn. Kate Sullivan had spent 20 years climbing through the ranks of Earth's intelligence services. She had seen threats that the public never knew about. She had made decisions that saved millions of lives, but nothing had prepared her for this. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, what you are about to hear will change how you see everything. 3 days ago, our monitoring station near Neptune intercepted an alien transmission. Ryan Mitchell, a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes, leaned forward. He had spent 15 years analyzing military threats from hostile nations. His job was to understand enemy capabilities and intentions. He thought he had seen every kind of danger humanity could face. How certain are we that this is real? He asked. Kate pressed a button on the table. The lights dimmed, and a large screen descended from the ceiling. The alien signal appeared, waves of data flowing across the display. We have confirmed it using 3 separate monitoring stations. The signal is definitely artificial, definitely from outside our solar system, and definitely not human in origin. Lisa Chang, a small woman with thick glasses, studied the patterns on the screen. She was a xenolinguistics expert, someone who specialized in theoretical alien languages. Until now, her work had been purely academic. Now it was the most important job on Earth. Have you decoded any of it? She asked. Some, Kate replied. Enough to know that we are in serious trouble. She pressed another button. New information appeared on the screen. Maps of the galaxy, star charts, and in the center, highlighted in red, was Earth's solar system. The aliens call themselves the hegemony. They are not one species, but 12. Different species working together. They have been observing our planet for over 200 years. And they have made a decision about humanity's future. Chris Taylor, a muscular man with scars on his hands, sat quietly in the corner. He was a former Navy SEAL who now worked in special operations. He had fought in wars that most people never heard about. His job was to solve problems that normal military forces could not handle. What kind of decision? He asked. Kate's voice became colder. They have classified humanity as a threat. According to their communications, we are what they call a Class 5. Disruption risk, the highest threat level in their system. Threat to what? Ryan asked. To their version of galactic order? According to their philosophy, civilizations must follow certain patterns of development. They must be logical, predictable, and peaceful. Civilizations that do not fit this pattern are considered dangerous. Lisa Chang was taking notes rapidly. And humanity doesn't fit their pattern? Not even close. They describe us as chaotic, unpredictable, and aggressive. They believe that if we ever develop faster than light travel, we will spread chaos throughout the galaxy. Chris Taylor smiled grimly. So they want to stop us before that happens. Exactly. And we have 18 months before they implement their solution. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen, trying to process what they were hearing. Ryan Mitchell was the first to speak. What kind of solution? Kate pressed another button. More alien text appeared, along with what looked like scientific diagrams. Lisa has been working with our best linguists and scientists to decode this section. Lisa, would you explain what we found? Lisa Chang stood up and walked to the screen. She pointed to the diagrams. This appears to be a biological weapon, something they call a quantum plague. It's designed to target specific DNA patterns, in this case human DNA. A plague? Chris asked. Not like any disease we know? This would be delivered using quantum transmission technology. It would appear simultaneously across the entire planet. Every human being would be infected at the same moment. There would be no way to escape it, no way to hide from it. Ryan Mitchell leaned back in his chair. How long would it take? According to these documents, complete sterilization of the planet would occur within 72 hours. The room fell silent again. Kate Sullivan looked around the table, watching her team absorb this information. There's some good news, she continued. We have discovered something the aliens do not know we have discovered. Lisa, tell them about the quantum communication channels. Lisa Chang adjusted her glasses. The aliens use quantum entanglement for their communications. They believe this technology is beyond human understanding. They think their messages are completely secure, but they're wrong? Ryan asked. Yes, humans developed quantum communication technology about 5 years ago. We were trying to create faster-than-light communication for our own use. By accident, we learned how to monitor quantum channels. Chris Taylor began to smile. So we've been listening to all their communications? Not all, Kate replied, but more than they know. Much more. She pressed another button. The screen filled with new information, communication logs, planning documents, status reports. We have been monitoring their command network for the past 72 hours. We know the locations of their ships. We know their command structure. We know their battle plans. Ryan Mitchell stood up and walked to the screen. How many ships? 47 vessels positioned throughout the solar system. They have been hiding behind asteroids and small moons. Some have been there for months. Crew sizes? Each ship carries between 50 and 200 aliens. Total enemy force is approximately 4,000 individuals. Chris Taylor was studying the tactical information. What about weapons? Energy-based systems? Plasma cannons? Particle beams? Quantum disruptors? Their technology is definitely more advanced than ours. But they don't know we can see them, Chris said. Correct. They believe they are completely hidden. They believe humanity has no idea they exist. Lisa Chong raised her hand. There's something else. Something very disturbing. We have discovered that many reported UFO sightings over the past 50 years were real. Kate nodded grimly. The aliens have been conducting what they call behavioral testing. They have been observing human reactions to their presence. They have been studying our military responses, our scientific capabilities, our social structures, the alien abduction stories? Ryan asked. Many of them were real. The aliens were collecting biological samples and psychological profiles. They have been building a complete database of human capabilities. Chris Taylor stood up. So they think they know everything about us? Yes, they think they have us completely figured out. They think humans will react in predictable ways when their attack begins. Kate Sullivan smiled for the first time since the meeting began. But they have made one critical error. What's that? Lisa asked. They don't understand that the same qualities that make us chaotic are the same qualities that allowed us to crack their communications. Our refusal to think in logical patterns is exactly what let us solve a puzzle that other species could never solve. Ryan Mitchell was beginning to understand. They've been studying us, but we've been studying them too. More than that, Kate replied. We've been learning from them. Every communication we intercept teaches us more about their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. Chris Taylor was already thinking about the tactical situation. What's our next move? Kate Sullivan looked around the table one more time. These people would help save humanity, or they would die trying. We're going to do something the aliens will never expect, she said. We're going to be ready for them. The meeting continued for 6 more hours. Plans were made. Resources were allocated. Messages were sent to secret facilities around the world. Humanity's real war was about to begin. And for the first time in galactic history, the humans were going to fight back. Alex Stone stared at the quantum equations covering the whiteboard in his laboratory. For 6 months, he had been working on the most important project in human history. Around him, his team of scientists worked day and night trying to solve problems that should have taken decades to figure out. The laboratory was hidden beneath a mountain in Colorado. Officially, it was a climate research facility. In reality, it housed Project Prometheus, humanity's secret weapon development program. Alex had been chosen to lead the project because of his work with quantum physics. Now he was trying to reverse engineer alien technology using only intercepted communications and human creativity. Dr. Stone, called Jennifer Kim, one of his research assistants. I think we've made a breakthrough with the shielding matrix. Alex walked over to her workstation. Jennifer was young, brilliant, and had been working without sleep for 36 hours straight. Like everyone else on the project, she understood what was at stake. Show me, Alex said. Jennifer pointed to her computer screen. We've been trying to understand how the aliens use quantum fields for protection. I think I figured out the basic principle, which is they create a field that exists in multiple dimensions at the same time. When something tries to attack through normal space, the field redirects the energy into quantum space where it can't do any damage. Alex studied the equations. Can we build something like this? I think so. It won't be as good as the alien version, but it should protect against their energy weapons, Alex smiled. This was the first good news they had received in weeks. How long to build a prototype? 2 weeks for a small one. 2 months for something big enough to protect a city. Do it. And Jennifer? Yes, sir? Good work. While Alex worked on defensive technology, Dana Brooks was solving an even bigger problem. She sat in a conference room in Detroit, surrounded by representatives from every major manufacturing company in North America. These people thought they were attending a meeting about climate change initiatives. They had no idea they were about. To help save the world, Dana had spent 20 years in industrial planning. She knew how to move resources, how to coordinate production, and how to keep secrets. Now she was using those skills to prepare humanity for war. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, we are announcing a new global initiative to combat climate Change. We need to convert our manufacturing capacity to produce clean energy technology. The room buzzed with questions. Dana answered them carefully, sticking to her cover story. But the real plan was different. Every solar panel factory would actually produce quantum shield generators. Every wind turbine facility would build weapon components. Every battery plant would create power systems for hidden military installations. This is a crash program, Dana continued. We need results in 18 months, not 18 years. The government is prepared to provide unlimited funding and resources. A businessman from Texas raised his hand. What about regulatory approval? Environmental impact studies? All regulations have been suspended for this project. You have complete authority to proceed as quickly as possible. What about labor? Asked a woman from California. Where will we find enough workers? Dana smiled. Leave that to us. You'll have all the workers you need. The workers were coming from Matt Johnson's network. Matt worked out of a small office in Chicago, but his influence reached across the entire planet. He was building something that had never existed before, a global civilian resistance. Army.Matt had served in the military for 8 years before becoming a community organizer. He understood both warfare and people. He knew how to train ordinary citizens to fight against impossible odds. His phone rang constantly. Calls from contacts in every major city. Teachers who wanted to protect their students. Factory workers who wanted to defend their families. Store owners who wanted to save their communities. We're not asking you to become soldiers, Matt told each group he spoke to. We're asking you to become guardians. When the time comes, you'll know what to do. Matt's training programs were disguised as emergency preparedness classes. Citizens learned first aid, communications, and survival skills. They also learned how to recognize alien technology, how to coordinate with military forces, and how to fight using improvised weapons. But the most important thing they learned was something the aliens could never understand: how to think like humans. Matt taught them to be unpredictable, to make decisions that no logical computer could anticipate, to fight with creativity instead of following rules. Remember, he told every group, aliens think in patterns. They expect logical responses. Our advantage is that we don't always make sense. While Matt organized people, Zoe Williams organized information. She worked from a basement apartment in San Francisco, surrounded by more computer equipment than most universities owned. Zoe was the leader of the world's most talented hackers. And now they were all working for the same cause. We need unbreakable communications, she told her team during their daily video conference. When the aliens attack, they'll try to cut off our normal networks. We need backup systems they can't find or shut down. Zoe's hackers were building a shadow internet, hidden servers in abandoned buildings, quantum encryption systems in subway tunnels, satellite networks disguised as commercial television equipment. If the aliens destroyed Earth's normal communications, humanity would still be able to coordinate its defense, but Zoe's team was doing more than building networks. They were also studying alien thinking patterns. Every intercepted communication taught them more about how alien minds worked. They're incredibly logical, explained Marcus, one of Zoe's best programmers. Everything they do follows clear rules and patterns. They can't understand randomness or creativity. That's their weakness, Zoe replied. We're going to use it against them. Zoe's team was developing cyber weapons designed specifically to confuse alien computers. Programs that made random decisions. Viruses that changed their own code in unpredictable ways. Defense systems that worked differently every time they were activated. The aliens will try to predict our responses, Zoe explained. But how can they predict something that doesn't follow any pattern? As the months passed, humanity's secret preparations grew larger and more complex. Hidden weapons factories operated beneath shopping malls. Quantum shield generators were built inside office buildings. Underground bunkers connected major cities through networks of tunnels. Every day, alien communications revealed more information. The hegemony was confident. They believed humans would surrender quickly when faced with superior technology. They expected panic, chaos, and rapid defeat. They were planning for the wrong kind of chaos. In laboratories around the world, human scientists made breakthroughs that should have been impossible. In factories disguised as civilian facilities, workers produced weapons and defenses using technology adapted from alien designs. In communities across the planet, ordinary people learned skills that would turn them into effective resistance fighters. The aliens had spent centuries perfecting their system for conquering species. They had mathematical models that predicted exactly how each invasion would proceed. They had databases containing the responses of hundreds of defeated civilizations, but humanity was different. Humans made decisions that no alien computer could predict. They created solutions that violated alien logic. They refused to surrender even when surrender was the only logical choice. With 6 months remaining until the invasion, humanity was almost ready. Hidden across the planet were weapons, shields, soldiers, and systems that aliens could not detect or understand. The hegemony thought they were hunting prey. They had no idea they were walking into a trap. Luke Harrison checked his instruments one final time as his fighter craft drifted silently behind an asteroid near Mars. Around him, 49 other human pilots waited in hidden positions throughout the solar system. They had been waiting for 3 days, ever since the deep space sensors detected the alien fleet moving toward Earth. Luke had been a test pilot before the war. He had flown experimental aircraft that pushed the boundaries of human technology. Now he was flying something that should not have existed, a fighter craft equipped with quantum shields and weapons engineered from alien communications. His radio crackled softly. Phoenix Squadron, this is Control. Enemy fleet has reached the detection line. All units, prepare for engagement. Luke smiled grimly. The aliens thought they were invisible. They had no idea that human quantum sensors had been tracking their every move for the past week. Phoenix leader to all units, Luke transmitted. Remember, they expect us to fight like humans fought in the old wars. They expect formations, tactics, and logical strategies. Do not give them what they expect. The alien fleet appeared on Luke's display. 47 ships arranged in perfect geometric formation, approaching Earth with mathematical precision. They were beautiful in their own way, sleek vessels that moved through space like silver arrows. They were also about to receive the biggest surprise in galactic history. Control to all squadrons, came the voice from Earth. Aliens are beginning. Their attack pattern, all defensive systems are green. Execute Operation Chaos. Luke pushed his engines to full power and burst from behind the asteroid. Around him, 50 human fighters appeared simultaneously from hiding spots throughout the asteroid belt. But instead of forming an attack formation, each pilot flew in a completely different direction. Luke rolled his fighter through a series of random maneuvers that would have made his old flight instructors scream in horror. He dove toward an alien cruiser while spinning in 3 dimensions, firing his quantum weapons in patterns that followed no tactical logic. The alien ship tried to target him with its defensive systems. The computers calculated Luke's course, predicted where he would be, and fired their weapons at empty space. Luke had already changed direction twice, following impulses that he made up as he went along. Phoenix 7 to Phoenix Leader, called one of his pilots. Their targeting computers can't lock onto us. They keep predicting where we'll be, but we're never there. That's the idea, Luke replied. Diving under an alien destroyer and firing a full spread of quantum torpedoes into its belly. Keep them guessing, the alien fleet was in chaos. Ships that had been moving in perfect formation now scattered in old directions, trying to track human fighters that refused to follow logical flight patterns. Weapon systems designed to predict enemy behavior were useless against pilots who made decisions based on instinct rather than strategy. Luke's quantum shields absorbed 3 direct hits from alien plasma cannons. The shields held perfectly, protecting him with technology that the aliens thought was beyond human understanding. While Luke fought in space, Jill Martinez was commanding the defense of North America from a bunker complex buried 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her command center looked like something from a science fiction movie, dozens of screens showing the battle across the globe, quantum communication networks connecting every major city, and holographic displays that showed alien positions in real time. Jill had been an army colonel before the war. She had commanded troops in desert conflicts and urban battles. But she had never commanded anything like this, a network of underground facilities that connected every major population center on the planet. "Status report," she called to her staff. "European bunkers report all civilians safely underground," replied her communications officer. "Asian defense networks are active. Australian shields are at full power. What about the alien ground forces?" "Landing. Craft are approaching New York, Los Angeles, London, and Tokyo. Enemy appears to be targeting major population centers, just as we predicted." Jill nodded. The aliens were following their standard invasion protocol exactly. They would land in major cities, expecting to find panicked civilians and overwhelmed military forces. Instead, they were about to discover that every major city on Earth was a fortress. "Activate all defensive systems," Jill ordered. "Show them what humans can do when we're ready for a fight." Across the planet, the landscape began to change. Buildings that had looked normal for months suddenly revealed their true nature. Office towers opened to reveal quantum cannon emplacements. Shopping malls split apart to expose missile launchers. Packing garages transformed into shield generator stations. The aliens had studied human cities using satellite surveillance. They thought they knew exactly what they would face when they landed. They were expecting concrete and steel buildings filled with frightened civilians. They were not expecting the entire city of New York to fight back like a single living weapon. Sam Peterson stood on the roof of a skyscraper in Manhattan, watching alien landing craft descend through the atmosphere. Around him, the city was preparing for war. Every street corner had been turned into a defensive position. Every building contained hidden weapons and supplies. Sam had been a police officer for 15 years before becoming an emergency coordinator. He knew the city better than anyone, every alley and rooftop, every tunnel and bridge. Now he was using that knowledge to turn his home into a battlefield that would give the aliens nightmares. "All units, this is command," he spoke into his radio. "Enemy landing craft are touching down in Central Park, Times Square, and the financial district. Execute Plan Chaos." The aliens expected to land and immediately begin controlling the human population. Instead, their landing craft were hit by weapons fire from every direction. Quantum missiles launched from hidden positions in office buildings. Energy weapons emerged from subway entrances. Even the streetlights began firing at the alien ships. The alien soldiers who managed to get out of their landing craft found themselves in a city that was actively trying to kill them. Every step they took was monitored by human defenders. Every move they made was countered by tactics that made no tactical sense. Sam watched through binoculars as a group of alien soldiers tried to advance down Fifth Avenue. They moved in perfect formation, using techniques that had conquered dozens of other worlds. But humans were not like other species. A group of human resistance fighters emerged from a department store and attacked the aliens with weapons that included everything from quantum rifles to fire extinguishers to baseball bats. The aliens had energy shields and advanced armor, but they had no defense against humans who fought with pure creativity. When one human weapon stopped working, the fighters switched to something completely different. When the aliens adapted to one tactic, the humans immediately tried something else. The alien soldiers, trained to fight logical enemies using predictable strategies, were overwhelmed by opponents who made up new tactics every few minutes. Tara Kim ran through the streets of Manhattan, carrying medical supplies and a quantum rifle. She was a field medic, but in this war, everyone fought. Her job was to treat wounded resistance fighters and document alien weaknesses that human forces could exploit. She ducked into an alley as an alien patrol passed by. The aliens were tall, thin creatures with gray skin and large black eyes. They carried weapons that hummed with energy and wore armor that shimmered with protective fields. They also looked confused and frightened. Tara had treated enough soldiers. to recognize stress and panic. These aliens were supposed to be conquering Earth according to a carefully planned schedule. Instead, they were trapped in a city that fought back in ways their training had never prepared them for. Her radio crackled. "All medical units, this is command. We need support at the Federal Building. Resistance fighters have cornered an alien command squad." Tara smiled and headed toward the battle. The aliens thought they were hunting helpless prey. They had no idea they were the ones being hunted. After 3 days of fighting, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. An alien invasion force began to retreat. Tony Garcia lay on the cold metal floor of an alien prison cell, pretending to be unconscious. Through half-closed eyes, he watched the alien guards standing outside his cage. They thought they had captured a valuable prisoner. They had no idea. They had taken exactly the person humanity wanted them to take. Tony had been a demolitions expert in the Marine Corps before volunteering for the most dangerous mission in human history. 3 weeks ago, he had deliberately allowed himself to be captured during a battle in Los Angeles. The aliens thought they were getting intelligence about human resistance networks. Instead, they were bringing a saboteur directly into the heart of their command ship. The alien guards were discussing something in their strange, musical language. Tony had learned enough of their speech patterns to understand the basics. They were worried about the war. The human resistance was not collapsing as their computer models had predicted. Instead, it was getting stronger every day. Tony smiled to himself. The aliens still did not understand what they were fighting against. One of the guards approached his cell and spoke in broken English. "Human, you will answer questions now." Tony sat up slowly, acting weak and defeated. "I already told you everything I know. You told us nothing useful. Your resistance networks make no sense. Your tactics follow no logical patterns. Explain this." Tony looked up at the alien. The creature was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes that showed confusion and frustration. These beings had conquered dozens of worlds using the same methods. They could not understand why those methods were failing against humans. "You want to know why you're losing?" Tony asked. The alien leaned closer to the cell bars. "Explain." "Because you think like machines. You follow rules and patterns. Humans don't work that way. We make it up as we go along." The alien made a sound. That might have been laughter. "Chaos is not a military strategy, isn't it?" Tony stood up and walked to the bars. "How's that working out for you so far?" The alien did not answer. It simply turned and walked away, leaving Tony alone in his cell. Tony waited until the corridor was empty. Then he reached into his shoe and pulled out a device no bigger than a coin. It was a quantum transmitter, designed using alien technology but built with human creativity. The aliens had searched him thoroughly when they captured him, but they had no idea what to look for. Tony activated the device and whispered into it. "Package delivered. Beginning phase 2? While Tony prepared to sabotage the alien mothership, from within, Mia Foster was broadcasting from a hidden transmitter station in the Australian outback. She had spent 6 months learning how to communicate with other species in the hegemony, and now she was about to spark a galactic revolution. Mia had been a linguistics professor before the war. She specialized in communication patterns and cultural translation. Now she was using those skills to talk to aliens who had been conquered by the hegemony decades or centuries ago. "This is Earth calling all hegemony member species," she spoke into her microphone. "We know you are listening. We know you did not join the hegemony by choice." Her message was transmitted using quantum channels that the hegemony central command could not control or shut down. Human hackers had learned to use the aliens' own communication networks against them. The hegemony told you that resistance was impossible. They told you that their technology was too advanced to fight against. They told you the same lies they told us. Mia paused, knowing that her words were being heard on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. "But humans are fighting back. We are winning. And we want to help you fight back too." The response came within hours. Messages from species that had been silent for generations. Beings who had been forced to serve the hegemony were suddenly finding their voices again. A species called the Kaleri sent detailed information about hegemony fleet positions. The Torvin provided technical specifications for alien weapons. The Nexari offered to sabotage hegemony supply lines. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was in rebellion. Nick Davis led the first human strike force outside Earth's solar system. His ships were built using captured alien technology enhanced with human innovations. His crews were volunteers who understood they might never return home. Nick had commanded special forces units in conflicts around the world. He had led soldiers into impossible situations and brought them home alive. Now he was leading humanity's first interstellar military operation. Target is the hegemony supply depot in the Proxima Centauri system, he told his crew as their ship jumped through hyperspace. Intelligence indicates minimal defenses. The aliens think they are safe this far from Earth. Nick's ship emerged from hyperspace to find the supply depot exactly where human intelligence had said it would be, but something was wrong. The depot was under attack by ships Nick did not recognize. "Sir," called his communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission. It's from the attacking ships. Put it through." A new voice filled the bridge, speaking accented but clear English. "Human ships, this is Commander Vex of the Kaleri Liberation Fleet. We heard your broadcast. We decided to join your war." Nick smiled. "Commander Vex, this is Colonel Nick Davis of Earth Defense Forces. Glad to have you on our side." "The pleasure is ours, Colonel. We have been waiting a long time for someone to show us how to fight back." The battle for the supply depot lasted less than an hour. Human and Kaleri ships working together destroyed hegemony defenses that should have been impregnable. When it was over, Nick's forces had captured enough supplies to equip a dozen resistance fleets, but more importantly, they had proved that the hegemony could be beaten. While Nick fought in space, Lynn Carter was negotiating in the halls of power. She sat across from a delegation of moderate hegemony leaders who had traveled to Earth under a flag of truce. Lynn had been a diplomat for 20 years, representing humanity in negotiations with hostile governments. She had never imagined she would be negotiating with aliens, but the principles were the same: find common ground and build from there. "The war must end," said the lead hegemony delegate, a being that looked like a cross between a bird and a lizard. "Too many ships have been lost. Too many member species are in rebellion." "The war can end," Lynn replied, "but not on your terms." "What are your demands?" Lynn smiled. "Complete dissolution of the hegemony, freedom for all member species, reparations for the damage your forces have caused." The alien delegate made a sound of disbelief. "Impossible. The hegemony has maintained galactic order for 10,000 years. "Your version of order?" Lynn said. "Forced compliance, suppression of natural development, elimination of species that don't fit your pattern. Without the hegemony, the galaxy will fall into chaos." Lynn leaned forward. "Maybe, but it will be free chaos, and that's better than your ordered slavery." The negotiations continued for days. Other species sent their own representatives. Former hegemony members demanded independence. Long-suppressed civilizations emerged from hiding to claim their freedom. In the end, the hegemony leaders had no choice. Their military forces were defeated, their member species were in open revolt, and humanity had proved that their system could be beaten. The hegemony formally dissolved on a Tuesday morning. Earth time, 5 years later, Jake Morrison sat at his monitoring station near Neptune, listening to signals from across the galaxy. But now he was not listening alone. Representatives from dozens of species worked alongside him, sharing information and coordinating the defense of free worlds. The galaxy was different now. More chaotic, certainly, but also more alive, more creative, more free. Jake's instruments detected a new signal, this one from far beyond their galaxy. Another confederation of species, another attempt to impose order on chaos. Jake smiled and began to decode the message. Humanity had learned how to fight back once. They could do it again. The universe was a big place, full of bullies who thought they knew better than everyone else, but now it was also full of humans. And humans, as the galaxy had learned, did not surrender easily.